the Monoposto Championship, the Mono 1800, Mono 1600, Moto 1400 and Moto 1000 head out onto circuit, which they do now. So let's guide you through the grid for this one. If you're just arriving, don't worry, you've only missed qualifying and free practice so far. This is the first race of a busy weekend here at Brands Hatch, and the entry list for this one is on page 18 of the programme. Page 18 of the programme. If you weren't with us when they qualified, then a couple of small amendments. Car number 75 is a change of driver. James Gordon Colebrook not driving. He is replaced by Nigel Davers, D-A-V-E-R-S, Nigel Davers. And also add in car number 34, which we won't see that car out today. We'll only see it out tomorrow, so matters not in reality, but add him in today just in case. Number 34, Simon Hare, H-A-R-E, from Southampton. He's driving a Vauxhall Junior 1600cc car, and it drops into the 1600cc class, therefore. So the grid then, they should line up as follows. On pole position is car number 146, which is Bradley Hobday, and alongside is number 2, which is Jeremy Timms. So it's 146 and 2 on the front row of the grid. Row 2 of the grid, number 71, Andrew Gordon Colebrook, and 72, Richard Gittings, 71 and 72 on row 2. The third row of the grid is number 3, Jason Timms, and 17, Dan Levy, 3 and 17 on row 3. And row 4 is 45, Mark Reed, and 85, Richard Moorcroft, 45 and 85 on row 4. Row 5, 33, Craig Hurren, and 95, which is Kyle Cutts. That's 33 and 95. Thank you very much. On the next row of the grid, which is row number 5, and row 6 sees 76, Matthew Walters, and 127, Morgan McCourt. 76 and 127 on row 6. Row 7 of the grid is 161, Julian Hoskins, and 117, Chris Lord, 161 and 117 on row 7. And row 8 is number 7, Jeff Fern, and 12, Philip Davis, 7 and 12 on row 8. Row 9, 28, George Fowler, and 81, which is Doug McClay. That is 28 and 81 on row 9, with row 10 being number 47, David Jones, and 37, Mick Kinghorn. 47 and 37, row 10. Off they head on their warming up lap. The 11th row of the grid, 57, Eddie Guest, and 67, Kevin Bottomley, 57 and 67, row 11. Row 12 is comprised by number 75, the change of driver, Nigel Davers, and number 20, which is Anthony Gauntlet, who only did 3 laps in the qualifying session this morning with problems with his Dallara, but he is there towards the tail end of the field. So 75 and 20 on row 12, and row 13 on his own is the Ray Formula Ford, number 131 of Simon Pruce. So 25 cars, providing they were all there, should be good to go in this one. A grid which is slightly topsy-turvy, because in the qualifying session this morning, not only did we have a red flag as a result of one car heading off into the gravel trap, that was the car that lines up 11th on the grid, number 76, Matthew Walters, but we then also had a safety car period as well because of other problems around the circuit, and as a result then, in what were still dry and bright conditions, there weren't that many flying laps done in reality. So we've got a few cars that maybe ought to be a bit further up the grid that just didn't hook up the quick lap, Crystal. So it'll be interesting to see.
Oh, absolutely. I think that this is really quite topsy-turvy, and it's going to get interesting. And I think you'll find that there are some of these cars will have strengths and weaknesses at different parts of the circuit to those around them. Obviously, the Jedis are just so lightning quick. I'm a huge fan of the Jedis. They're just so rapid, which means that certainly on the back part of this circuit, they're going to be absolutely dynamite, aren't they? And but you just, I don't know, you can't discount Jeremy Timms. I think Jason Timms is out of position. Dan Levy could well get himself involved as well. And obviously Bradley Hobday, who I didn't see at Cadwell Park, he just sort of set the pace by nearly 2 seconds. Now, is that truly representative and he's going to romp away? He certainly looked very, very quick, but I just can't help but think that Jeremy Timms is going to get involved one way or another.
I think, without question, Jeremy Timms, as I was saying in qualifying this morning, I'd like to know exactly when the last time a Timms family representative wasn't on a grid in a Monoposto race, because they have been hugely loyal to Monoposto racing over a huge number of years as well. So good to see them always there, always competitive, multiple championships amongst the family members, and let's wait and see as to how this one goes. So the cars just about to finish their green flag warming up lap, and just guide you through the colours then. So car number 146, Bradley Hobday's car, is largely white with red and black. The Yasha Batteries supported car lines up alongside the dark blue and white car with its Q8 livery in the hands of number 2, Jeremy Timms. Row 2 of the grid is black car, but with its sort of day-glow flashes to it, of Andrew Gordon-Colebrook. And alongside is number 72, which is Richard Gittings, which is a black car, but it's also got day-glow to it. But for Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, the front wing end plates are yellow. For Richard Gittings, if you're looking at the car facing forward, they're orange, so that's how you can pick those two out. Row 3 of the grid is a dark blue and white car of Jason Timms, and alongside him is number 17, another black car with orange flashes to it, but this one's also got an orange stripe down the side in the hands of Dan Levy. And just to give you the colours on the 4th row of the grid, number 45, Mark Reed's Leastone, is red, and alongside number 85, Richard Moorcroft, who is black, white and light blue. Green flag waves at the tail end of the field. 15 minutes of racing about to get underway. Fantastic start from pole position from Bradley Hobday. Poorer away is Jeremy Timms, who's already been mugged by both Andrew Gordon-Colebrook and Richard Gittings from the 2nd row of the grid. But it's Bradley Hobday that leads the race. Jeremy Timms at least is able to grab 1 place back on the run in towards Paddock Hill Bend, but it's Bradley Hobday that leads the race. It is going to be the car of Richard Gittings in 2nd position, and 3rd place at this stage is Jeremy Timms, who's there in 3rd place. Andrew Gordon-Colebrook is in 4th place. 5th place is going to be Mark Reed from 7th on the grid. A good start from him. And then 6th, it looks like might be Craig. Was that Craig Curran who was there in 6th position? If so, that's a good start from 9th on the grid as they feed their way onto the Grand Prix circuit for the first time. But it looks, Chris Dawes, as though everybody is largely safely through the first quarter of a lap, and they all propel themselves downhill towards Hawthorne, where the camera has that blob of whatever it is right in the middle of it, which obstructs our view rather, doesn't it?
It does a bit, yeah. It looks like Dan Levy lost a few places on that opening sequence as well. He started 6th on the grid, but I think we'll find he's down in possibly something like 8th or 9th at the moment, but don't discount him at all. And Jeremy Timms, as you say, he didn't get away too well, did he? And he's got it all to do, which means that Richard Gittings, he was the one that was up into 2nd, wasn't he? So that was great from 4th on the grid. So the topsy-turvy starting grid has led even to a topsy-turvy first lap, to be honest with you. It's still not settled itself down as they come towards us for the first time. And look at that. We said don't discount Jeremy Timms. He's up into 2nd again, and I would say he's closing very rapidly on Bradley Hobday.
Let's have a quick look. Yeah, he is. He's certainly getting ever closer to the Jedi that lay ahead at this stage in the hands of Bradley Hobday. But Jeremy Timms is starting to turn the screw and ask a few questions. He brakes as late as he can, comes from a long way back up towards Druids Corner, but the door was already closed, and therefore braking late on the way into the corner costs him a little bit of time on the exit of it. So it's still the Jedi of Bradley Hobday that leads. Jeremy Timms there in 2nd position. 3rd place, almost bouncing over the curbs, Richard Gittings sits there in 3rd place, and Andrew Gordon-Colebrook there in 4th place. So that's the top 4 at the moment. Down in 11th place, car number 76 leads the Mono 1800 class, which is Matthew Walters, and Jeff Fern leads the Mono 1600 class.
Great fight between the red car of number 45, Mark Reed, Craig Curran in the black number 33, and the car that I said had dropped down a few positions. Dan Levy's at the back of those 3, but they were absolutely squabbling like their life depended on it as they disappeared out of our sight. And I've got a feeling if that was them that we could just about see flashing through on the camera there, that Dan Levy may have managed to get past both of them, but we'll have to wait and see. First 2 are already sort of heading back towards our sight, and it is still as you were, Hobday from Timms, but Timms is just buzzing all around him, isn't he? Such a size difference between those cars. But look at this as they come back into our sight. It is still Hobday that just about has that lead. The speed of that Jedi, absolutely dynamic out the back there. But now suddenly, look at Timms. He's going to be having a look towards Paddock Hill Bend. Very defensive Hobday there, isn't he?
Yeah, he is defensive on the run up the straight, whereas Jeremy Timms just takes as wide a line in towards Paddock Hill Bend to see whether he can cut back on the exit of the corner. Again, he brakes that little bit later than the car of Bradley Hobday, but the door yet again is closed as they get towards Druids Corner. So it's still Jedi from Dallara, that being Bradley Hobday from Jeremy Timms. These two holding each other up, but not particularly as yet falling into the clutches of Richard Gittings, who sits there in 3rd position. Andrew Gordon-Colebrook in 4th place. Jason Timms in 5th place. And Dan Levy is there now.
We've lost Mark Reed. We've lost number 45, Mark Reed,
yeah,
from
he's
that
gone
battle.
missing. Yeah, the Leastone's gone, hasn't it, somewhere?
Yeah, he's just coming into the pits now, so that is unfortunate, which means that Levy had gone up 1 position, but that was with the demise of Reed coming into the pit lane now, but it looks like he has now got past 33 Hurren, so he was certainly looking to make up those places. One he may have default gained, but he's managed to fight himself past the other one, though.
Yep, so as for class leaders at this time, leading Mono 1000 is the race leader, Bradley Hobday, but under pressure from the driver that leads Mono 1400, Jeremy Timms. We still have number 76.
Oh, he's done it. Changed for the lead. I saw that one being threatened as they came through the camera, and the dark car of Jeremy Timms just threw it up the inside as they went through Sterling. So here we go. They are round the other way. Well, that was quite wild coming through there by our now leader, Jeremy Timms, but that was quite a late move he did into Sterling's. Apologies for jumping across you there, Mark. I just suddenly saw it out the corner of my eye taking place.
Yeah, so Jeremy Timms threw it into the lead of the race. They've got traffic just up the road that will need dealing with. And is that Kevin Bottomley's car that's going to be the first of those that they managed to catch up with before too much longer? Or is it the car that we thought had retired and has come back out again? I think it might be Mark Reed. Yes, it is. That's a Leastone, isn't it? So Mark Reed, who briefly came into the pit lane, is almost going to go a lap down now, as the best of the battles at the moment is going to be for third and fourth position. Richard Gittings at the wheel of his black and orange Jedi, under pressure from the number 71 car, the black and orange Dallara of Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, that lay behind. Not only did Jeremy Timms take the lead of the race on that lap, Chris Dawes, but he also posted the fastest lap of the race we've seen so far, 1 minute 26.898.
Well, that is impressive. I mean, you could see he was closing, but even having to make that move, it didn't compromise him. He was able to clearly take his ultimate line through there, throwing Hobday out of his run, but I don't think that Jedi is going to settle for that. We've got someone else just going slow and into the pit lane at the moment. I can't quite see which one it is. We'll see it show on the screen in a minute. But yes, and now are we going to see him stretch his legs? Now, what do we get lap time wise? I mean, that 126.898 would have put him on pole position in qualifying.
Yeah, and he's just gone quicker than anybody through Sector 1 and through Sector 2 as well. It's Jason Timms that's come into the pit. So Jeremy leading the race, Jason in the pit lane, and through should now go a new fastest lap of the race. Yeah, 1 minute 25.787 is almost 2 seconds quicker than Bradley Hobday could manage over the course of that particular lap. So really starting to pull away now. Fantastic fight still for third and fourth position. Richard Gittings still at the moment having the upper hand over number 71 Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, who is close but isn't quite close enough still. However, there is a back marker up the road that may possibly come into play over the course of this lap, and not particularly slow back marker either, is it? Because he qualified 7th quickest, Mark Reed.
And it looks like the 33 car of Hurren, after a great opening stint of this race, obviously had an issue out of our sight somewhere because he lost a good, well, not only a position, but was 7 seconds off of his best. So he obviously had a wild moment somewhere, and you can see he's now miles behind as the gaggle that he was fighting with are already making their way round Sterling's as he's just tackling Graham Hill Bend.
Jeremy Timms still pressing on this lap again through Sector 1. He's gone quicker than he's previously got, having opened up a 2.4 second advantage between himself and the pole sitter Bradley Hobday. Those two cars still leading their respective classes, because Jeremy Timms leads Mono 1400 and leads the race. Second is Bradley Hobday, who leads Mono 1000. In 9th position, car number 76, Matthew Walters, leads what is at this stage the Mono 1800 class. And Jeff Fern, car number 7, in 13th position, still leads Mono 1600. They are your class leaders, but Jeremy Timms surely on for another new fastest lap of the race here. 1 minute 25.7. No, it was catching traffic in the final sector, quicker than anybody through Sector 1 and Sector 2, but caught the traffic in Sector 3, but still pulls out, another 2 seconds between himself and Bradley Hobday.
Yeah, and he just needs to make sure he's fairly patient getting through this, because as he was making his way down Paddock Hill up towards Hellwards Hill and Druids, he nearly got sort of his nose snapped off by one of those back markers, but he was generally rather patient, which meant that he was able to get out of it before it had any kind of effect. But it's certainly an insight that all of these cars, as they come through, because in fairness, that wasn't just back markers, that was fighting back markers, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. So just needs to pick his time to squeeze his way through and past. This is a 15-minute race. We are now past the halfway point. There are just under 7 minutes of it remaining.
Dan Levy.
Dan Levy, number 17, with a problem. His Jedi coming to a halt almost, coming into sight, and is going to be destined for the pit lane, Chris.
That must be so terrifying to be sat there in one of these cars going, just crawling around with the speed that the rest of them were coming. So that's unfortunate. That's a couple of key names that are out. Obviously, we already had the number 3 car of Jason Timms pull out, continuing his run of bad luck that he had at Cadwell Park. He's in the pit lane. Now Dan Levy, number 17, he's in the pit lane as well and out of this race. We also had, obviously, the number 45 car of Mark Reed that was up the sharp end. He is still going, but right at the back after having to come into the pits with whatever happened to him.
Yeah, and of course for Dan Levy at Cadwell Park, he claimed a win and a second in Mono 1000 in his particular class. For Mark Reed, he claimed a second and a win in Mono 1000, so it's really thrown Mono 1000 open in terms of the championship standings, because Bradley Hobday, who currently leads that class, was not present at Cadwell Park, so it's going to move him into contention very early on into the 2017 Monoposto Championship season. More and more traffic to be dealt with here by Jeremy Timms before too much longer. The next of the cars he's going to squeeze his way through and past is going to be the Reynard SF84 of George Fowler, a former Formula Ford 2000 chassis. Thank you very much. But he is just about to be picked off by our race leader with 5.5 minutes of this race still to go. Jeremy Timms leads now, car number 2, by a particularly impressive 6.7 seconds from Bradley Hobday in second place, who has another 6 seconds between himself and Richard Gittings, who's there in third, who just still cannot, for the life of him, shake off the attentions of Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, who's just not going away. There was less than a tenth of a second between the cars fighting over third and fourth. That's
what I like to see, and they don't seem to care that it's not even for class, do they? They're just enjoying the fight, and as well they would. If you're going to be out there, you'd want to be involved in some kind of race. It looks as though, I mean, I'm sure it's largely traffic, but I think that number 2 Jeremy Timms is just settling everything down. He's putting in slower sectors at the moment as he comes through to complete what will be his 7th lap with 4 3/4 minutes remaining. He's still stretching his legs ever more over the second place car that's only just about to come down and across the line. Through goes Hobday, still in second with a gap of 9.2, but this is the fight for the third and fourth between Gittings and Gordon-Colebrook.
Yeah, the 2 black cars with their orange flashes head up towards Paddock Hill Bend with traffic just ahead of them, but it's still the Jedi, the slightly smaller of the 2 cars, the space frame chassis car of Richard Gittings, that hangs on to the position. Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, though, brakes as late as he possibly can. Mike Kinghorn, I think, is the car that they're about to put a lap on, the white car with its orange flashes. Mike at the wheel of the JKS, and again Richard Gittings can't afford to be compromised by the slower car. Andrew Gordon-Colebrook looking to try and squeeze his way through on the Cooper Straight, but the door is shut by Richard Gittings. Both of them go through and past Mike Kinghorn, and they are going to be pretty much nose to tail on the exit of Surtees Corner.
I'm sure that Gittings used to actually race in the Jedi Championship as well, so he's very experienced in this car. But it did look like he ever so slightly washed out as he went through Stirling's up in and disappearing out of our sight. I don't think he's managed to make the move, but they've got another back marker in front of them by the looks of the screen. So he's still having to push very, very hard with that annoying little car behind him, still just pressurising. Gordon-Colebrook desperate to get up in the third overall for a bit of kudos, albeit not making a difference for the class, as our leader comes through to complete 8th lap, 3 1/4 minutes remaining.
Now, I'm not sure either whether there has been a change for third and fourth, or whether Andrew Gordon-Colebrook has simply been held up by the traffic there, because all of a sudden there looked to be a gap between the pair of them, and it is traffic. No, the traffic has really played into the hands of Richard Gittings over the course of this lap, so the top 2 safely through. 3 minutes remain. Here now comes Richard Gittings, car number 72, who for the first time in this race can breathe a fairly large sigh of relief, because on that lap he was 2.7 seconds quicker than Andrew Gordon-Colebrook through the traffic. So that was the pivotal lap, Chris, and unfortunately that's broken up the battle for third and fourth.
And that is a real shame. And it looked, I'm pretty certain that Gordon-Colebrook was shaking his head as he came across the line, clearly not happy with that. He's been compromised, and not for the first time we've seen that, but I'm sure the nature of these single-seaters, the wing mirrors are very, very small, aren't they, as they go around this circuit. So it's probably, especially if they're involved in their own fights, which is what we've talked about. They are involved. Now, I noticed that the number 33 car of Hurren is recovering and is now closing in on the 85 car of Moorcroft as I look up towards Druids. Yeah, there they are, coming down towards Graham Hill Bend at the moment.
Yeah, the number 85 car, Richard Moorcroft, largely black and white, but it's got the odd little light blue flash on it. Right behind him is the black Jedi Mark 6 in the hands of Craig Curran with that subtle orange flash to it. They are pretty much together. They've also, again, got traffic to try and work their way through and past. I think that was Nigel Davers that they were trying to squeeze their way through and past, as our race leader now chalks lap number 9 into the book. There's 1 minute and 45 seconds to go, so he's on to lap number 10. He should be able to get 11 laps out of this one. On to the penultimate lap of the race for Jeremy Timms.
Absolutely. I mean, I knew that he'd qualified out of position, but I didn't expect him to necessarily be able to dominate in quite this fashion. But my goodness, has he ever, as the gap is now up to 11.378 with another 2 laps left to go. Gittings to Gordon-Colebrook is now nearly 2 seconds the gap, but as they go up towards Druids, it does look as though Gittings maybe got compromised on that last lap, because I would say that Gordon-Colebrook, whilst not in a challenging distance. He is certainly a lot closer. Oh, and he's not hanging about now, is he? I think he's had enough of back markers because he just sized up the inside of the number 7 car of Fern there. He can see the back of that Gittings car getting a little bit bigger. He wants to get involved.
Yeah, well, he's certainly not going to, Jeff Fern, hold up the customer, is he, Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, because Jeff prepares that car, so moving neatly out of the way of the man who's paying him money this weekend, to allow him to close onto the coattails of Richard Gittings. Sensible driving by Jeff, team patron for Team Fern Racing. So let's wait and see what happens as our race leader, which is Jeremy Timms, should be coming up towards the conclusion of another lap, this being his penultimate lap. He's about to flash his way shortly over the start-finish line and is now, with 24 seconds to go, onto what is the last lap of the race, with a comfortable advantage between himself and Bradley Hobday, car number 146, who of course is second in the race, but still on for maximum points in his class, let's not forget, because it's points within your class that are the important thing. 15 points if you win your class, subject to the number of starters, an extra point for fastest lap in your class as well. So it looks as though both of those drivers, Jeremy Timms and Bradley Hobday, are on for maximum points in their class, as the squabble for third and fourth is most certainly back on. Richard Gittings now just 0.3 of a second up the road from Andrew Gordon-Colebrook as they head down through Paddock Hill Bend and start to climb uphill.
You could see it joining on. He's looking towards the outside. Gordon-Colebrook not quite able to do it. He's going to try the switch back, but the 71 trying to get past the 72. Side by side down towards Graham Hill Bend with a back marker, that gorgeous BAR liveried vehicle in front of them. But they're still, as you were, line astern. How is this back marker going to interfere? Doesn't. Stays right out of the way through the left-hander of Sterling's. Up and out of our sight they go again. Still glued to the back of him. It's not out of question he's going to make a Dan Dare lunge on this last lap, even though it's not for class position.
No, it's not. It's just for overall honours, isn't it? Because we will see, I think, the top three head towards the podium at the end of this particular one.
Horan obviously had another issue. He was closing in on the number 85 car of Moorcroft, but suddenly that car lost 5 seconds and this is miles away again now.
Yeah, that's what was the squabble for 5th and 6th place, which has just opened up. Checkered flag comes out. Jeremy Timms wins the race and sets the fastest lap of the race on his final lap as well. 1 minute 24.786 for Jeremy Timms. So that not only gives him maximum points for his class, it also, without question, gives him the fastest lap point as well. Here now comes Bradley Hobday, car number 146, in second position. What of the squabble for third? Richard Gittings and Andrew Gordon-Colebrook were locked together, and they're still locked together. The charge to the line might decide this one. Andrew Gordon-Colebrook looking to try and squeeze his way up the inside of Richard Gittings. The two of them going to run side by side towards a checkered flag, but it looks so Richard Gittings is just going to have his nose ahead at the wheel of car number 72. He comes through and claims third place overall, just a tenth of a second ahead of Andrew Gordon-Colebrook, number 71, who finishes in fourth place. Fifth place should go the way, now that he's been relieved of the pressure by Craig Hurren of Richard Moorcroft. His car should flash its way into sight very shortly on the approach towards, here it comes, Clearways Corner. So number 85 is Richard Moorcroft. He is just now heading on towards the straight for the final time. Number 85, Richard Moorcroft, finishes in 5th place, and Craig Hurren should just finish in 6th position, but again on that lap looks as though he's lost further time again. Yeah, car number 33, Craig Hurren, coming through, and again lost another couple of seconds on that lap, so he actually finishes 10 seconds adrift of the car that 2 laps ago he was doing battle with. So Hurren completes the top 6. 7th place is the first of the cars that is a lap down. Matthew Walters finishes in 7th place, but more importantly, as far as he's concerned, he claims top honours in Mono 1800. 8th place was car number 161, Julian Hoskins. 9th place was number 117, Chris Lord. And 10th was car number 127, which is Morgan McCourt. In 11th place was number 95, Carl Cutts. 12th place and winning top honours in Mono 1600, number 7, Jeff Fern. 13th place goes the way of number 37, which is Mick Kinghorn. 14th place for number 45, Mark Reed, after his visit to the pits. 15th place for the car that sounded as though it was on 3 cylinders for a good chunk of the race, car number 20, Anthony Gauntlet. 16th place for number 28, which is George Fowler. 17th for number 75, Nigel Davers. 18th position for number 47, which is David Jones. 19th for number 81, Doug McClay. And completing the top 20, just to give you that, it was car number 67, which was Kevin Bottomley, who finished in 20th position. So Chris Dawes is going to head downstairs and conduct the podium presentations for the first race of the weekend. And that should see, I think, the top 3 drivers head towards the podium, ready for our first podium presentation of what is a particularly busy weekend here at Brands Hatch. No, it's a class winners, isn't it? Class winners in this one, yeah. So we will see then. You should have Jeremy Timms, you should have Bradley Hobday, you should have number 76, Matthew Walters. and you should have number 7, Jeff Fern, will be the 4 drivers you'll need on the podium, Chris.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully we will. I'm not sure why we've got Richard Gitting stopped down here. So actually, it looks like different to what the notes told us, is that it's just the top 3. Although actually, we don't seem to have anybody actually here other than Richard Gitting. So yes, I'm not sure if we're going to have any podium whatsoever now. Unfortunately. I'm not sure whether they may have been stopped further up, but certainly the notes suggested we were going to have the trophies that are here, certainly for all the different class winners. 4 bottles of champagne. Hey Mark, it seems they're not coming on the podium, was it? 1 for me, 1 for you. Jock better have one as well, hasn't he?
I'm not quite sure whether have they been pulled into Parc Fermé. Some of them, I would imagine.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't notice it, and
in which case they'll be scooped up by a Stephen Green, won't they?
Well, I hope so, but a lot of them seem to have just gone straight down. We have a 1, 2, 3, the boards to sort of like stop in front of here. Richard Gittings has pulled over. Obviously, he finished 3rd overall, 2nd in class, so hence he's behind the 3 board. But by our reckon, we won't. But there is Stephen Green down the bottom, so yes, I do believe that they've stopped them there, although we only... Oh, no, there is 4 drivers on there, so fingers crossed, we're good to go for this, making their way down towards us now. There's 1 or 2 of the cars that pulled into the pits with various issues. Anthony Gauntlet in this gorgeous Dallara 301. Here we go, down towards us. Ready to also then make their way clambering up the stairs as well. Stephen Green looking for the handbrake on the car there as everybody's getting out. Excellent. So Stephen Green has indeed managed to round the cats up, as it normally feels for these drivers, and managed to get them there. As they're making their way up the back, looking down towards Richard Gittings, who he was involved in that titanic tussle that just went race long. Even when he thought he'd got a bit of daylight, the car of Andrew Gordon Colbrook closed right back in and kept us entertained for basically the whole of that race, which was really, really good. Winner as well. We'll do it that way round. So it's in the 1600 class. The winner was number 7, Jeff Fern. Well done, Jeff. he was quite happy that he was called out first there. Well done, Jeff. Get yourself up there on any of the steps. It's fine. Winner of the 1800 class, number 76, Matthew Walters. Goodness me, how can you have that much energy? You weren't trying hard enough. Came bounding out onto it. The winner of the Mono 1000, 146, Bradley Hobday. Well done, Bradley. The winner of the Mono 1400 and the overall winner, Jeremy Timms. Awesome job. They're going to do the champagne straight away, are they? Well, I'll move out of the way and I'll be back out to interview them in a second. Yeah. Goodness me, that's managed to... I've never seen the cork... Don't go running off completely, Jeremy. I thought that it was going to, but no, they've decided to go. It's a lunch break, so they're obviously perfectly happy. The corks actually managed to go out onto the start-finish grid, so we'll have to make sure that's cleared up. God, it smells rather alcoholic out here now. Well, let's start with Jeff. I called you out first, so I'll interview first. Jeff, congratulations, you got the class win. Fairly lonely, other than one thing we noticed, that you were suddenly moving out of Andrew Gordon-Colebrook's way, which we sort of said you probably had to be honest.
Yeah, well, I did do that, but I moved out of the guy in front, who was in front of him. I thought that was him, and I moved over to the guy in front, and I thought, oh, sure, I've let the wrong guy by. But there you go. Team orders didn't really help him today, but... yeah, just a thank you to all the marshals and all those guys out there, the few who have turned up today, you know, in the pouring rain and helping us all, you know. Pleased to see them all. Thanks a lot, lads, you know. Thanks very much.
Absolutely, well done, Jeff. Matthew Walters, as I say, you obviously didn't try hard enough with the way you bound out onto this podium, but I guess it was a relatively lonely race, wasn't it?
Yeah, I felt the pressure at first, but... I'm Moto qualifying up, so I didn't exactly come onto the grid with the best mindset. But I just thought, you know, it's the race now, so let's just put the hammer down and do what we can do. And yeah, it worked out all right. Pulled the lead, I think. So yeah.
Well done. You got the class win. Congratulations. And then the Bradley Hobday car that won the Mono 1000 came second overall. You had it on pole position, but I suppose you probably knew that you were going to be a target at some point. You got a lead in the early stages, and you held him off for a good while.
Yeah, I managed to get a gap for a little while, for a couple of laps, but I knew he was coming. It was just a matter of where, and I tried to hold him off for a little bit, but just a little bit too quick for me. So, yeah, it was a really good race. Yeah, just got a little gap and brought it home. It was brilliant.
Well, that's the great thing, isn't it? You know you got the class victory, and you enjoyed that battle. I mean, it did look like a fun battle for a good while as well.
Yeah, definitely. I sort of hold him off a couple of times, but he had to come through in the end.
Well done, though. Jeremy, congratulations. The class victory, the overall class. Not quite the start that you were planning for, I'd imagine.
Not really. Those Gloria's a bit heavy to get off the line. They spin up a bit. The Jedis are gone, and I think Richard got in front of me as well. So I was third on the first sort of lap for a while. It's not the easiest track to overtake on, and I sort of overtook on some unorthodox corners, I think, but I sort of surprised them, I think, more than anything. So that was a good race. It's good to have a battle. Yeah, usually, you know, Jason, I don't know where Jason was, but usually he's very close. So it was a good race. Glad to finish it. And
it's a shame, actually, your cousin's car, because I know he had problems at Cadwell when I was on the mic there as well, and seems to have continued. He's in the pit lane and out, but hopefully that'll be back in and able to fight with you. But to be honest with you, I think it'd be good if you get that kind of start, because it's good fun watching you come through. I mean, the move for the lead took us by surprise as well. It's Sterling's, if you like, the last corner before you come back into our view, and we got a camera on that position. It was only just as you sort of started disappearing out of our view. I was like, he's going for it, and you just threw it up, and you'd obviously had enough.
In fairness, it was quite a fair overtake. You know, I didn't get cut in and everything, and it could have ended up in tears maybe, but it was a fair race. Yeah, good. Yeah, enjoyed it.
No, it was a good move. It was fabulous to watch. Well done, great victory, and we look forward to seeing you guys. Is it tomorrow, isn't it? You're back out, yeah. Well done, guys. Well done for winning your classes, and we will see that. That's the Monoposto Championship, the 1800s, 1600s, Mono 1400s, and the Mono 1000s.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, great to hear from the drivers there on the podium. We'll of course, see Monopostos back out, but, of course, it will be the Mono F3, the 2000s, the FR 2000s, and the Classic 2000s later on for their first race of the weekend. Lunch break is now upon us, ladies and gentlemen. We are scheduled to get racing back underway in what, in reality, is now about 20 minutes' time with the first of our sprint races today, 25-minute affair for the GT Cup Championship. So in the meantime, might be worth heading to either the Kentigern Bar and Restaurant, which is at the top of Paddock Hill Bend, just behind the grandstand, or perhaps Hellwood's Bar and Restaurant, because there's a range of hot and cold food and refreshments available there, the salad bar, paninis, and everything else to boot as well. And also, give yourself the opportunity to have a good wander around the paddock, and perhaps head to the Brands Hatch Mega Store as well, which is open today. So from Chris Dawes down on the podium, from myself, Mark Werrell, up in the commentary box, enjoy your lunch break, ladies and gentlemen. In about 20 minutes' time, we'll be back with you, ready for racing.